Okay, let me I think we're live, but I want to share this to a few different groups before we start getting everybody all excited for what we're about to present, because what we're about to present is life-changing, to say the least. Very much so. Okay, good. We're in here. Let me share this in a couple groups just to get it out there. All right, good enough. Hello, everybody. Seth and Veda here with the Integrative Science of Water and Consciousness podcast. And today's episode is, my God, I'm like ready to jump out of my seat here and start singing, because I've always told Veda, I'm like, you know what, we got to go deeper into your work. Like, we've talked about a lot of other things and gone into a lot of other directions, but I'm like, we have got to go into your work. Your work is mind-blowing. It's amazing. And she's so humble, and she's so just like, no. And I'm like, dude, wake up. Like, your work is unbelievable. So we're presenting Veda's work today, but we're presenting a segment of it that is so near and dear to my heart, because it is music and the effect that music has on water crystallography. And holy moly, get ready, because we've got visuals. We're going to show everything, and she's just going to take us on a ride, basically on a musical landscape, musical roller coaster ride of what she did with all these different songs, all these different pieces of music to get the water to respond the way it did, which is nothing short of miraculous. So I'm going to put the first slide up here, which is music and individuals, and then Veda Austin, take it away. Go ahead, they're up.
Quite the introduction, Seth. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I can't see which one I put up first. Which is the first?
So imagine John Lennon, then London Bridge is falling down, then Gong. You want me to tell you one by one? We'll just John and Lennon?
I'll talk about Imagine first.
Okay.
Because it's beautiful. So it's so anyone that knows Masaru Emoto's work knows that he did some work that with water crystallography, whereby he did only really two types of music that were very much in contrast. He did classical music versus heavy metal. So it was really extreme. And the classical music created a beautiful image, and the heavy metal really didn't show any complex crystallography. And I always kind of thought about that. Actually, it was my eldest son that really mentioned this to me. He said, Mum, does that actually mean that water only likes classical music? He said, because I like rap. And does that mean that, like, the water in my body has, like, got something wrong with it? And I'm like, no, that doesn't mean that at all. I mean, he didn't do any other genres.
Well, you know, it's funny because the Emoto work kind of put that out there. It was like, heavy metal music is bad for the crystals in your body, and classical music is good for it. And so that was kind of put out there. And a lot of people would say, oh, don't listen to heavy metal music. It's bad for the water crystals in your body.
Well, you know, each to their own, and I think that is the key, is that the person that did those tests probably didn't like heavy metal. And I kind of really feel that water doesn't judge. Yes. It's not about judging. It's actually more about expressing. So I wanted to do different genres of music to see what would show up and how water would respond, and whether or not it would actually respond in similar ways to what Emoto did, or whether it would do something different, because I wanted to go in with an open mind, and I like lots of different music. And there's certain music that doesn't resonate for me. I personally don't like heavy metal. It doesn't work for me.
You don't like my heavy metal?
Yeah,
Sorry,
love
just
yours,
kidding.
But But it all depends on. I'm talking.
I know, I'm just joking.
I'm talking the one with just like.
Well, a lot of it's really negative. It's really dark. It's really negative, and I understand. I don't like it either, honestly. So.
But some people love it,
Yeah.
and that's their thing.
Yeah.
And so we're all individual, and so it's not about judging right or wrong. It's more just about the form of expression. And we all express differently. I know the most beautiful, kind, loving people that are just rock on death metal. And so it's just about taking the judgment out of it. So when I did these tests, I wanted to just see the expression. I wasn't portraying my own feelings into the water. I actually left the room when I did the tests, and I just put the speakers, the music through the speakers, and I wanted to see what water would do. I didn't want to influence it. I just wanted to see the expression. And some fascinating things happened. So with Imagine, I kind of thought, well, that's such a classic song that conjures up a lot of positive feelings generally for a lot of people, but not everyone. But so I thought, let's just see how it likes that. And so the image you see for Imagine shows a beautiful hexagon shape. So with all of the water crystallography that I've done, when water is in its most healthy state, you see that beautiful hexagon shape. It's like a ferny-like hexagon, and you see that. But what's interesting is the background is absolutely clear, and it's just a very simple, beautiful image, and that was the image that water created for Imagine. And that seems to me that the actual message of the song like created a healing aspect to the water, because for that particular one, I just used tap water, which had absolutely disgusting crystallography. It's not its fault. It's through all the piping and everything it went through.
Yes.
But the image is absolutely stunning. So that song, water felt healed by it. So it created this beautiful image. And the next one, there were some children in my neighborhood, and they were all singing. So I wanted them to be part of this process. So I said, can you all sing a song? What's the song you all know? And for some reason, they must have been doing it at school. And they said, London Bridge is Falling Down. So they all sang London Bridge is Falling Down. And they were actually, the Petri dish was in the center of them, and they were like skipping around it singing that song. And then I froze it using my technique, pulled it out, and their photo of London Bridge, it's like one of the towers. And
it looks just like a tower. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable.
And you can't see the other one probably because it fell down. But but it literally took it. So what you're seeing is the first expression of the John Lennon Imagine song. Water healed from that. The song of London Bridge is Falling Down showed a literal image of London Bridge. And the next one, what is it?
Gong.
Oh, so this one's super cool. So I had a thought that if I played music that was just the gong playing, that water might kind of create a beautiful shapes. A bit like whenever I've done the sound of Om, it's created these circles.
Kind of like what I did with the throat singing.
Yeah, with the one with you with throat singing, it was very similar. And I kind of I assumed, which was something I've learned I should never do with water. It's very rebellious. It likes to do its own thing, which I love and I can relate to. And I thought it would create something similar. But in fact, it designed a gong with a mallet on top that you can see in that image. And so the first one created something, it kind of healed itself. The second one created the actual shape of what was being sung, the song was about. But the third one created the instrument that was used, which is crazy amazing. So what is the next one?
So the one under that is Tupac, All Eyes on Me.
Because my son likes Tupac and he liked rap, I'm like, okay, well, let's see. So the most fascinating thing about that image is that I have never ever seen in crystallography up until this point, up until that song, just that star. So when it's formed this perfect star, which would normally create like a hexagon with all leaves and everything coming off it, which is so typical of what I would see. But it hasn't. It has created the star, and for me, it's kind of sort of expressive of a real individual standing out from everything else. And I really think actually that Tupac did that. He really had amazing messages. One of his songs called Changes, he said something like, we should change the way we eat and change the way we think and change the way we treat people, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really amazing messages through his work. And so, I really feel that that's a pretty amazing picture. But that's a totally different genre. Rap is a different genre. But I really feel like a lot of people really resonate with rap, with the messages in the music. So
it's phenomenal. It's like, again, it's one of those moments. Every time I look at your work, my analytical mind cannot grasp what's happening, and so there it goes. It just releases. It lets go, and in doing that, it's like I've moved beyond, a little bit more beyond my ego, my belief system. Like, it expands us. It's so expansive. Anyway, yeah, I'm in awe.
Is there another one after that?
Fly Like an Eagle, which is like, you've got to be kidding me. It looks like a freaking Monet painting, or not Monet. It's like, it's just insane. There's the eagle. Like, what?
Yeah, that one is self-explanatory. You can clearly see it's a bird flying. And so, but let's look at what's happening. So, the water is actually responding intelligently. I can't see it any other way. And if anyone is still going, oh yeah, maybe it's a coincidence, the next stuff we're going to go through are all repeat studies that I've done. So my mentor and very dear friend, Dr. Gerald Pollack, he's the world's leading water scientist. He has been guiding me along my journey with my work, encouraging me to make it as scientific as it can be given the genre. And he suggested that the repeat studies are extremely important because it shows that water is creating imagery similar every single time. He said, make sure though that you tell people that you're not taking hundreds of photos and choosing the best one. So I'm making this the opportunity to say, I'm not taking hundreds of photos and choosing the best one. I can't. I'm not in a cold room taking these pictures, which Emoto's team, they're so dedicated, they go into this freezing cold room and they're all kind of geared up and they, it's freezing so that they're able to take a lot of photos. Actually what I'm doing is taking the ice out of the freezer in the petri dish and photographing it, and it melts so quickly that I could, at max I take 2 to 3 photos. Often it's just one. So what I do is I usually just take, you can see the image straight away, and I take photos of it at different angles if I can, before it starts to melt. That's it. So this is important to know that I'm not taking hundreds of photos. So if we go on to so that was Jerry's suggestion about the repeat studies, which we're going to start getting into.
All right.
So
go to 41 next.
Sure. What's the first one? I think.
So now let's see. Okay, so now yes, Stairway to Heaven and Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Well, Stairway to Heaven has been it's such a classic song. Most people, when they're learning the guitar, it's one of the first songs that they learn.
Yeah.
It's been around for so long. It's a classic. And I thought, well, this is all new. Nobody's been doing any of this work with these types of songs, and what will water do? And
No one's been doing this work anyway.
I'm dumbfounded by the Gong thing and going, oh God, I just have to stay out of this because I have no idea what water's going to do.
Oh my God.
So for the Stairway to Heaven, this was I did these repeat tests in different ways. For this, I did them at different times. For some of them, I did them all together at the same time. So for Stairway to Heaven, it was the song was played at different times over a course of I don't know how many weeks, and I wanted to see if it would create similar imagery. So you can see that every single time, and this wasn't there was no petri dish that didn't have this in it.
Oh my God.
So every single petri dish had this staircase. And like I said before in other interviews, it's as if it's the same image that's being designed, but it's as if it's a different artist each time. But the image is still the same. So although there's only 6 there, I've actually done 8 now.
So for everybody listening, that this is really important what she's saying, because it's like, just to reiterate a little bit, because I want to emphasize the importance of this, to make this more along the lines of what science would consider more official. This isn't her just taking 100, 300 pictures and then saying, oh, look, there's 1 or 2 good ones. This is her doing the same thing at different times, but the same pictures, the same music over and over again, showing repeatable, replicatable results. This is what makes this so darn fascinating. Phenomenal.
It's amazing. So then so that was water expressing a word in the song, and I really want to kind of get into this part. So water appears to be showing, it's choosing. It appears to be choosing how it wants to express through imagery. So it's choosing, do I express in geometry? Do I express in imagery? Do I express an actual instrument? It seems to have a choice.
How is this even possible?
In a song?
It's crazy.
I mean, it blows my mind too, because I still get amazed every time this is happening. So that's why I have to bring it to the world, because it feels like water really is a living force that is saying a lot.
A lot. It's saying everything. Yes, I know, and we're so. Look, in the age of information, to not be open to this stuff means you're just choosing to be ignorant. That's all it is. Like, look at what you're doing. Look at what it's showing. I mean, hello. Crazy. It's unbelievable. It's just mind-blowing.
And it does seem unbelievable. I recognize and I always acknowledge the fact that for people that just can't or don't want to comprehend what's going on, then with their rational mind, then see it as an art form, and it's something, and a natural, incredible phenomena that keeps happening. However it works for you, it really doesn't matter. It's more around the fact that this is, it feels like my service is to help water to show this expression. So for Papa Was a Rolling Stone, you can see how similar they are. And for these, I'm pretty sure that I had done them all at the same time. So 3 petri dishes in front of the speaker, listening to the song, and then freeze them, pull them out. And you'll find that some of my images have different colors. So all the different colors, and I have a house that's got lots of big windows, and there's lots of different colors. And so depending on where I'm holding the petri dish, the different lights will come through. So it's always good to explain that, because some people don't quite understand why there are so many colors in the water. But you can see they look like stones rolling down a hill. So it's like they've expressed that rolling stone aspect of the actual song, which is super interesting.
Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable.
What's the next one?
Let's see here. So the next one, let's see, Sorry, that's my computer is inching. Hold on.
Okay.
It's having one of those slow moments. Okay, so that was 41. So now 42 is going to be Dust in the Wind, Single Ladies, and Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah.
That's really just put a lot of different genres out there. I've done a lot of others. This is just a few selections. Dust in the Wind is an old classic too. And it's interesting because the patterns are so similar. It's as if the same artist designed all three of those song images. So it's I don't really know exactly what the expression is, and that's what's beautiful. Sometimes it's almost like an abstract rather than a realism type of picture, but it's kind of woven. It's kind of a different type of image that I mean these images I would never see naturally. So Water is literally creating something from from these songs that it likes, that it expresses to, that it dances to. So Dance in the Wind, there's some movement in it. It's very similar. Each one looks very, very similar. So that one was when I played the song to all the Petri dishes at the same time. And that's why it's interesting. You notice bigger differences when you do it at different times, but Water's still picking up the image that reflects the other one. So for the Single Ladies, it's kind of like, I actually think my girlfriend of mine suggested that I do that one because she was singing it and it was just something fun. And but there's the song, and she's like the kind of
I don't even know it.
Like,
I don't even know it, but it's obvious what it. I know it now just from looking at the. Come on, do it, sister. Break it down.
It's Beyonce, and anyway,
okay,
so
Beyonce.
It's like there's this thing. If you like it, then you put a ring on it or something. And so, but the point is that Water's picked up on the word ring. And so in each one, you can see this sort of three-dimensional ring that's appeared in the song. And that is really interesting because I also did, totally separate to music, I did lots of different ones with movies. And I did Lord of the Rings, just because most people know what that is.
Yes.
And it had this perfect, really interesting ring. And so it's picked up, it likes the word ring, or it seems to. And so it's used its building blocks of ice to create images that you wouldn't imagine water could create or ice could create. So we're like perfect circles and three-dimensional things that look like they're sticking in the ice. That's what's so interesting about my new technique. So I don't totally freeze water. It's like I said before, there are two parts of water, informed water and uninformed water. And the informed water sticks to the bottom of the Petri dish first, and the uninformed water stays liquid for much longer. I only photograph the informed water now, and it creates this three-dimensional, different kind of amazing imagery. So, what was the next one?
Let's see. And while we were on 43, all right, so 43, we've got Shallow, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and then Freaks, and then Space. And also, I took the liberty to pull up the comparison of my throat singing with the ohm that you did too. Just, we can do that after.
I'm glad that you were going to do that. So, the Lady Gaga song Shallow was really popular, and it's interesting because the water has created a very specific type of leaf formation. So it's sort of got a bit of a hexagon sort of a shape, but then a long leaf at the top. And each one is very specific. So rather than it be the fern-like hexagon, it's got that mostly. But then there's this long ferny bit that goes upwards. And so it's like a maple leaf with a big long leaf at the top. And each one has that. And so it's means something, but I don't really know what, except that it is like the water's designed geometry, but the geometry, one of them has like grown upwards, bigger than the rest. So I guess this is where you can use your own form of expression as to what it means. That's what's beautiful, is that I don't always know the meaning of everything. Sometimes they're obvious because they're clear imagery. Sometimes water designs and geometries and patterns, and for me they look like leaves, but leaves are also an expression of water's health. So when I see leaves, it's generally water that's in reasonably good health. And so it is interesting, though, that there's this great big long leaf. So I'm not sure what that means, but this was the way water expressed that song. I think they're beautiful as well. Geometries and patterns fascinate me because, you know, when you start seeing repeated patterns like these, this is water's liquid language. It's its way of expressing not only music but so many other things, and that it's being repeated. So you can see each one differs slightly, but each one is very, very similar, and nature never creates anything identical. You know, they're very, very similar, but there's often some little differences. So I can't remember what you said was the one after that.
Freaks.
Oh, yeah. So you probably don't know the song. It's a New Zealand band by a guy called, I think his name's King Capisi, and somebody else I should know, but I can't remember.
Timmy Trumpet and Savage, it says.
Okay. I'm thinking another one I did. So what's interesting about this song is there's a lot of trumpet that plays, and it's pretty hard, like busy song, and it's kind of it's got a lot of trumpet sound to it, and it's quite a cool song. And I remember hearing my son playing it in the car, and I'm like, oh, play that again, that's actually pretty cool. It's not something I would normally listen to, but it was like quite upbeat, and it was quite, the trumpet's very, very clear in this, but what you see is the water literally dancing. It's like in a state of, it's kind of an ecstatic dance or something.
Oh my God.
It's really interesting because I don't see that kind of crystallography, you know, and it's very similar too. So for that, I had all three being done at the same time. So that's why it all looks so similar.
Oh my God.
And they're almost like little, I don't know if you've ever seen this, Seth, but you know, silver, the actual silver.
Yeah, it grows crystals, silver crystals.
Like trees.
Yes, they're phenomenal. They call them silver leaves. Gold does the same thing. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Something about that kind of reminds me of the designs in this image, these images. And then what
Space by Homebrew.
So that's a really cool band in New Zealand called Homebrew, and they have a song called Space, and there's a lot of references to the galaxy and space and planets and things like that, and spacemen. And so water has literally designed what looks like images from space. One of them looks like it's actually got a little satellite in it. So it's really interesting because you can see that it's taken either some of the words, like the word space, and created from that. So
unbelievable.
It's pretty amazing because I've actually gone ahead for one of my videos. I did anyone can watch any of these videos. It's on my website under the tab videos, which is just my name.
VedaAustin.com, and go to her website. It's phenomenal. Just the videos, just the information, everything on there. Like, it's really, you feel like you went to a museum or something.
Yeah, I've added a lot of examples and different things for people. I lost my train of thought there. So I was talking about space, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Where was I going with that? So I have taken images of places and of nebulas and different things, and actually put them beside the images, and they're so similar. It's actually incredible. But when you think about how much water really is also in space, and considering that so much water actually came from space, it clearly would understand space.
Yes, it understand it better than we do. That's for sure.
Well, that's the thing, because we only use our thoughts and our minds and what we've been taught to really comprehend. But there's so much water within us.
Yeah.
That actually, we're like this liquid alien in many ways, with memories we have no idea the kind of memories that I think that we actually hold. I think somehow, because we're born, we kind of are taught what to learn in so many ways. From the moment that we're born, we start to learn how to say mummy and daddy, and we're taught how to read and write at school, and we're taught about what the world is like. And yet the water within us has also got its own incredible information. And I think that that's something that, through some kind of meditation, to actually connect in with the actual water, separate to our thoughts, I think that we would be able to learn so much and remember so much. But I've digressed. So, is there
so that was it's the last one. But what we're saying with space and everything, it's kind of a perfect segue into this throat singing and Om. It's the one with my throat singing and then the Om sign next to it, which looks very much like space.
Yeah. Well, the three Om, I've done various different Om now, which are, I think I've done about 4 of them. They all look very, very similar. And then I asked Seth if he'd do some throat singing, and the image is like so similar but different. You can see it's got tighter rings.
What the heck? I can't believe I did that.
Yeah, you did that. But you think about the way the shape also of the
throat. Wow, that's true.
So that's what I was thinking about, the rings and the way it's forming the up through the throat.
Oh my god.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Oh my god, it's so just, why not, since we're here, I'll do it. This is what I was doing. I'll do a little bit of throat singing so you guys can hear that, and then I'll put the image back up. So I was doing that, and then I got to get warmed up to do that one, but a really deep one. So we're kind of mixing the two, but I'm going to put that image back up. What's so cool about that is it's true. It's kind of like a throat. Like,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I never caught that. I didn't think of it like that before. But it's amazing how it creates that circular spiral, like the Om, like the spiral of life itself. But wow, I'm like amazing.
It is amazing, and see, that is the thing. I think water is able to express itself in ways I'm still discovering nearly every day. It's like there's so much we don't know, and it's almost as if I have to unlearn everything that I've ever learned and just allow for water to be my teacher. And I think that's become not only my truth, but water's like literally feels like a friend that we have fun with. And there are times where it does actually feel like a teacher, where I feel like I actually need to just be quiet and listen and not think I know what it's going to do and not do any of it, because it's very rebellious. Like I've said many times, water's the rebel element. It defies the laws of physics and gravity and all these different kinds of things. And I think that there is a little bit of a rebellious spirit in a lot of people. We don't really like to conform all the time. And there's certain people that love structure. I can appreciate that. But I do feel that water, that's the thing. If we really start connecting to the fact that we are, by molecular count, 99% water, that there are more water molecules, there are more stars and more water molecules in our body than there are stars in the Milky Way. And I was looking at the Milky Way yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, there's more water molecules in me than all of those stars in the Milky Way.
Oh my God.
It's so hard to imagine.
It's
trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of water molecules inside of our body.
It's phenomenal. So Karen has had a good comment here. She said, your image is showing the movement of the chakra and the clockwise direction it goes when balanced. The little bits look like congested energy you are clearing from the energy field. Nicely done. I'm assuming she's probably talking about the throat singing thing that I did.
Yeah. That's so interesting because that's probably true too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can almost use these images as ways of water being able to show you what's going on with you too.
Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to, like, Veda and I are going to host workshops where we do that. And it's true, just the same way people do blood microscopy to look at your blood and tell what's in it. We can use water the same way.
Yeah. Well, I believe that water really is like a lie detector test as well. Because it really can tell you. I've started to create these, no one really knows. No one's really seen any of these yet, but it's going to take me a while to put them all together. But I'm creating this thing with water whereby you can see that I know how to do repeat studies, and I've been doing repeat studies on different things outside of music. And so one of them is for words. So I'm creating, I'm doing images for specific words. So far it's like about 25 words. And I see that when I start to see repeat images come up for a certain word, okay, I know what that means now. I know what that image means. And so one of them is like with love and with anxiety and frustration and different extremes and some simple things like yes and no. And so I'm able to see that water can actually be very complex in its understanding of expression. So, for example, love always creates a heart shape, which is interesting because the word love itself, it's only the hearts. We are only really relevant to us, our imagery, and so it's like that shape of the heart. When we see that, we kind of have an idea of what that image means. That water's picked up on a way that how we'll understand, so we'll have an emotional connection to whatever shape it chooses to form. So love creates these hearts, but then stress creates these spikes. So when I feel stressed, sometimes I can feel kind of spiky inside of me. But so the next word I wrote was heartache, which is like a little bit of stress to do with the heart. Yeah. Or sometimes a lot of stress. And so water created the spikes with a heart on the end of the spike. So it put the two images together. So now that I'm starting to develop words that I can see, it's like hieroglyphs, and so I'm able to understand what each word means. I'm able to start to read petri dishes. I'm able to starting to read the language of water because it's showing me, and we're co-creating together this new way of understanding each other. So the more I do this, the more complex it's starting to get, the more amazing it is, but at the same time for me it's like a slow progression of learning. So really it's like you start right from the beginning when you start at school, and so I feel like that's where I started at the beginning, just with finding everything pretty amazing, really. Yeah. But then when you get to grasp, you get to grasp ABCs, and you get to grasp the different topics that you learn. But so water is literally teaching me without telling me, it's like I'm not being told how to think. I'm simply being shown a way. And that's what I love, is that I'm starting to have this relationship with water, which is very different to any kind of relationship that I've experienced before. So you feel this camaraderie, you feel this sense of wonderment, and absolute, I revere water too. So it is so interesting because we all develop such different relationships. I remember my spiritual teacher in India, before he passed, he talked about the different relationships we have in the world that we understand. And so the first most distant one, he would say, would be like a person who was a subject and a king. You know, the king is over there somewhere and the subject over here, and you kind of like have a respect, but there's no real interaction. And then I think it went to somebody who was like a maid who looked after the clothes and the food or something of the king. And so there was a closer relationship. There was still some distance. And then there's the friend, and the friend are the same. They feel the same. They feel as if they're the same. And so whether that person is the king or whoever, it doesn't matter. The other person feels the same, and they're friends. And then it goes like a parent-child relationship where you are the parent and the beloved, or the not the king as such. That he was actually talking about the divine. Is that the divine is like the love you have for a little bit like with your child, where you love your child so much, no matter what they do, you just keep loving them, you keep giving and surrender, so much of your time. And then there's the love of beloved. And I always found that interesting, because so often in the world we think that the relationship between the mother and the child, or the father and the child, is the highest type of love we really understand, because it's the most selfless. But the lover-beloved relationship within the context that he was talking about could take on so many different forms, not just lover-beloved, but you can, and you see that in certain relationships where you can have a little bit of a parent-child relationship. You can be friends as well. There can be distance. You can kind of experience all these different things all in one go, but you can't experience that with just a child-mother or father relationship. So it's interesting how he was saying that. And so the same thing with these relationships I have with water. I feel like I have all those relationships. I feel like sometimes I feel a little bit in awe, and so it feels almost a little bit like just the subject looking at the Almighty. And it's like, oh my God, I don't even know like how to start here.
That's phenomenal.
And then, and then I can go through those. And so I can feel all these different feelings and relationships in regards to water. And water as a literal like friend and teacher and beloved. It's hard to imagine that I could think that water is a beloved, but I am having a divine beloved relationship.
Well, Kieran had a good suggestion here, which I'm sure you do and have thought of, but she suggested having somebody lead you into deep meditative states so that you can uncover further guidance. And she wrote, in meditative states, we're able to connect to consciousness, including the galaxy. It's interesting. I'm sure you do stuff like that anyway. I mean, you're very deep anyhow, but it's true. She's right. To have maybe, and different people leading it are probably going to produce different results. I'm sure if you got into a state that was way beyond the conscious, and start tapping into the subconscious, and then the universal aspects of your own personality, it'd be interesting to see how your relationship with water would deepen then, and what kind of information you could bring back. That's...
Yeah, well, I mean, in answer to that, not that it really was more of a suggestion, but it's a beautiful suggestion.
Yeah.
And also, we're always... it's so people are very curious by nature. And so I've also had to come to a place with water, not where I stop being curious, but it's almost like a full acceptance of what is, and that there is no limit to what is possible, and that, in fact, something you said you said today, Seth, remember? It's like our
Oh, yeah.
problems this big and our possibilities.
Yeah.
So,
Our problems are infinitesimally small compared to our possibilities, which are like infinite. Yeah.
I think that is also a very beautiful truth. That this I don't even like the word study. You know, so many things I keep referring to. It's just that I can't think of another word. But my relationship with water has taught me. And so the fact that there is an intelligence, which I keep seeing. So, you know, a lot of different cultures and a lot of different indigenous people and a lot of ancient people talked about water as a living being. But now that I'm seeing intelligence within this living being, the intelligence is not just because we can't just say that intelligence is only what we refer
Yeah, what
to.
we think, right? Our bodies alone are infinitely more. Just the innate intelligence of our body is phenomenal. But it's true when you break it down to the innate intelligence of water as a whole. How could we even dare think that it isn't infinitely more intelligent than we are in our limited states that most of us are in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that we look for intelligence in nature by the size of a brain, or we look for intelligence in nature of whether an animal recognizes itself in a mirror, these are all what we think intelligence means.
Right.
We're not looking at the fact that a tree knows how to change its leaf color when it turns to autumn, or that a chameleon knows how to change color when it senses it needs to be in a different color to blend in with its different environment, or if it senses danger.
And how does a tree bring water up its roots, up through it? Like, what? You know?
I mean, there's intelligence in all of nature. And Rudolf Steiner says that actually all nature has intelligence. We're actually pulling our intelligence from it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people some people that would like to believe that, because that would mean that everything outside of us is also intelligence. Not just people.
Right.
And so that is an interesting thing to observe, though, and that all life holds is water.
Yeah.
And it is the unifying force of everything that is living. And how do we interpret what is alive? And I think that there are a lot of more questions more to be asked. I don't think that we know hardly anything. I feel like I'm just a baby on this journey. And I'm
floating in embryonic fluid, which is highly structured water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, I have done, many more tests, co-creations, I like to call it, actually.
No testing, no experimenting.
I do use the word test sometimes because it doesn't seem quite, I don't know, but I prefer co-creation all the way. With water, with music, and obviously with words, and with pictures, and with movies, and with media. I mean, there's so many more. I have many people giving me all kinds of suggestions. I have a huge list of suggestions of what I could do with water. So I'm making my way through the list.
It's so exciting. I every time you send me a photo, I'm like, oh, I get all excited. I'm like, I can't wait, see what it is. It's like.
I feel the same way. It's like, I think sometimes people don't realize I get just as excited as everybody else. My mind gets blown too, and I think it needs to be a lot of the time. It's so easy to get stuck in the mind because a lot of it's so regurgitated stuff.
Yeah.
So when you get something completely new, your mind is just like, but where does this link up to? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so,
consciousness.
You just gotta let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how long we've been talking.
Yeah, no, that's good. We're 50 minutes, so we went for a while, but yeah, so thank you so much for sharing all that. And I realized I didn't put the tag. I'll write what the description is for this, but for those who are just tuning in now and just coming in later, this is the Integrative Science of Water and Consciousness podcast, and tonight we covered music's effect on water crystallography and some of the breathtaking, awe-inspiring studies, co-creations that Veda has done with water. And we posted a bunch of pictures and slides over, so go back and check it out. It's just phenomenal. It's truly, truly magical. And this type of insight, this type of inspiration, this type of getting beyond who we think we are in order to experience a more holistic expression of what we actually are is something that's becoming normal. It's becoming mainstream, and for good reason, because we are a species that is so out of tune with the natural world because we're out of touch with our own internal nature. But that's changing. It's coming back. So many of us are waking up now. We're realizing that we are way more than who we think we are, and that what we actually are encompasses everything known and unknown, seen and unseen, felt and unfelt. And the more we trust that and ease into it and allow that to be what it is, the more whole we become, the more full we feel, and the more empowered we are to continue cultivating and developing these aspects of our own innate consciousness that has been inactive or dormant. So, Veda, thank you. Thank you from here to infinity for this incredible work that you do. I'm so grateful to be an insider and to be your friend and to be able to see this stuff as you're doing it. And oh my God, I'm looking forward to the day when your book is a New York Times bestseller, Washington Times, like all of it. Not for the reasons that people think, just because this type of information and this type of work needs to be recognized and seen and experienced by many, because it brings peace to you. It brings an expansive state of awareness, and it elevates the feelings that you feel within you. And my gosh, what do we need more than that at a time like this?
So much, Seth. I really appreciate it. I love your support. I love everybody's support. It's like, it means a lot. Yeah. All right.
All right, so just to conclude, this is the Integrative Science of Water and Consciousness podcast. Tonight was about music's effect on water crystallography. And to learn more about Veda and her work, go to vedaaustin.com. To learn more about my work, I'mAwakeNowWhat.com. I'll put links and all that stuff in here. Like this video, share it, talk about it, tell people about it. Tell somebody who you think might be interested in having their mind blown and their heart open wide about Veda's work. And, you know, we always post it in these groups, and we love what we do, and we're just getting started. So,
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Till next time.